Internet, hello you lovelies. Let's talk all about episodes 1 and 2 of season 5 of The Boys. Our final season of The Boys is upon us. Let's dive into full spoilers for those first 2 episodes, so please have seen it first. All right, so to me, this is the sweet spot. This is what I love about the first 2 seasons with what I love about 3 and 4, but I prefer the very beginning of The Boys a little bit. It had a little bit different of a tone, a little bit different heart in it. 3 and 4 to me felt like they were using a lot of the aggression and the gross out elements and stuff a little bit more than some of the heart and some of the crazy meta snarky things that made the show unique in the beginning. And that's a product of the comic book, to be fair. So I liked the comic book. I read the comic in '06. I was one of the people that was buying it in its first print run back in the day, but it's a product of a time. In the early 2000s, there was a lot of meta, self-aware comics that were about the comics of the time. Like, in addition to the ultimate stuff, which was, let's modernize these Marvel characters, there was also things like Squadron Supreme or The Authority, which were, let's do a darker twist on these characters you know and love. And then a darker twist on the darker twist was The Boys. So it was kind of a 16 walls. It was a fourth wall break and a fourth wall break. It was a turducken of cynical commentary. And that is the comic book. And it's really interesting 20 years later with the show, we're living in a very cynical time and a very broken time and a very politically charged time. So the show reflects that. And I think the show actually works better for today's time than the comic worked for '06's time, and I think the show is a better adaptation of some of the ideas than even the comic book. It's one of those rare adaptations that I think above and beyond makes the comic better for it existing. So this season to me is taking a lot of the first couple seasons' heart and meta self-awareness with the more cynical stuff in 3 and 4 and blending it together, so we've got a really interesting look at our present world. And what I immediately noticed from the first episode is, since 2 years ago, since we had The Boys last on TV, Gen V has happened, I'm acknowledging, but since season 4 of The Boys, we've had an election, we've had things escalate in certain ways, and now farce and commentary have to go even further. A full spangled concentration camp outfit while all of these horrors happening has to be pushed higher to absurdism because of actual detention camps and things happening. And the way the show is handling it is a lot less angry than I expected. Like, it's an angry show, it has been from the beginning, but I feel like if it was on the same path of 3 and 4, it wouldn't be as much hope. And there is hope. And I really think that's anchored on a lot of key elements like Wee Huey, on characters kind of pushing back on full cynical nihilism. And I think that's something that separates it from the comic book. I think the way that Butcher feels is the way we all kind of felt reading it back in the day. And even how I felt through later season 3 into season 4. I don't feel like Butcher is our eyeline, I feel like Huey is. And I love that this season is more of a team dynamic. I love seeing all the boys back together. I love that the 7 feels very disjointed, but still feels like, you know, there is a team dynamic to the Soups as well as the boys. Way more with the boys. The underdogs definitely have a team versus a structure of, you know, Homelander runs all and then everyone else is just trying to stay alive, as it should be, but it feels more cohesive. It doesn't feel like A plot, B plot, C plot, like some shows have to when you've got 15 cast members. This, to me, feels more cohesive, like the structures of both the Soups and the Boys side has this beautiful overarching story. And unlike certain last seasons of shows, it doesn't feel like it's rushing. One of the things I was worried about was after, you know, they confirmed season 5 as the last season, would they be able to wrap up the story that Eric Kripke wanted to tell? Apparently he always wants 5-season shows. That's how he envisioned this. Apparently that's how he envisioned Supernatural back in the day. But it doesn't feel like there's a rush to the finish line. These very patient first 2 episodes are still full of action, still full of drama, but they don't feel like they have to get anywhere. They feel like they're embracing every moment. It feels like we're getting a victory lap ending as opposed to like, oh, gotta wrap it up in 8 episodes. These hours feel dense, but they don't feel like they're hurried. And I love, again, full spoilers, let's break it down. I love the structure of the first 2 episodes. The way episode 1 ends with, spoilers, A-Train's death is such a good way to show, hey, anyone could die, and you need to feel those stakes. You need to understand this the last season. You need to be worried for everyone. But it also beautifully mirrors season 1, episode 1, A-Train making villain decisions, and season 5, episode 1, A-Train making the same path of heroic decisions. He literally dodges a woman instead of running her over. He saves Huey instead of killing his girlfriend. He doesn't listen to Homelander, and he gets at Homelander's kryptonite, which is insecurity. He laughing at his face, that's one thing that could actually get in him and actually break him. And he did feel as confident as one can on their way out. And that was really beautiful to see him go out a hero, and not just a hero, but like genuinely laughing in the face of the man to kill him. And that set off a great bunch of dominoes of insecurity, of that great Homelander scene over his body, making him a martyr. Daveed Diggs just killing it as this Joel Osteen type, but for soups. All of those things really working for me, and the structure really working for me, because we dive right back in at the beginning of this first episode, and then at the end of this first episode have the stakes get escalated, but also the madness of Homelander feeling much more like he did in those first couple seasons, where it's like, I don't know what he's going to do next. I don't know which decision he's going to make, and there's so much just built up. It doesn't feel like blind rage. It doesn't feel like pure lashing out. It feels like I don't know if he's going to lash out. I know he's going to make the decision he feels like is right, but his brokenness is so much more apparent as we reach critical mass. And then the second episode, I love that Homelander obviously teased Soldier Boy coming back in the first episode, but bringing back Soldier Boy in the second episode really surprised me, because one, it's earlier than I expected. Two, we haven't seen a lot of their dynamic together, and it's so charged and interesting. Three, they're touching on some of the crazier stuff of the comic book with him, like huffing that dad musk in his little chamber there. But it also showed me how much I truly believe anyone could go, because I thought Soldier Boy bought it. Like I totally, bought it. I really felt okay, we've only got 6 episodes left of The Boys. Maybe they do kill Soldier Boy right here. And then that last second, sit up, that editing masterpiece of like tension payoff. But we've now got a totally different dynamic. I imagine Soldier Boy is going to be going at Homelander. I imagine, all of these things are going to start mounting at Homelander, but also the virus doesn't do everything it needs to take out Homelander necessarily. So the way they mapped this out feels very intentional, feels very concentrated. I do think release-wise, it would have been nice just to have one episode, wait a week. We could have lived with A-Train's death instead of just jumping to the next thing. But you guys know I don't like binge stuff. This 2-hour movie we got to experience was a lot. So I'm at least grateful it's not 3 episodes right at once. But these 2 were solid. Did enjoy each one's arc. They felt very intentional, and really strong season so far. I love getting, the female, Kamiko, getting to speak, and how TikTok influenced it, so that actress Karen Fukuhara gets to, actually use all of her tools, and her relationship with Frenchie is so dynamic and interesting, and I love their love. Mother's Milk inverting with Frenchie is interesting, like Frenchie being the addict. He got clean in the internment camp. Mother's Milk lost hope. He got broken. He's now an addict. That's interesting, and all the while the anchor, the leader, is Huey, who's never been a leader, and now he's ascended to that position. Butcher's back to his old ways, killing his dad seemingly in the first episode, but also being so ruthless and willing to do anything, but still saving Huey. A lot of interesting dynamics, and a lot of great beats that feel authentic to each character's arc, and we've lived with these characters for, 5 seasons, 7 or 8 years, more. It feels worth the journey, and it feels like that's what direction these characters need to go. So I'm enchanted by the season. This is amongst the best Boys stuff for me. I also feel like it's doing a lot of interesting commentary on people in power, back in power, and just the petulant child rage, and how someone that just wants to be liked, that can't be liked because they're a piece of shit. It's beautiful to see. So I'm really excited to watch this season as someone who enjoys the cynicism but enjoys the heart more. I'm excited to see that this season is taking a different turn than I thought it would after season 4. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Let me know if you are feeling any sort of hope. Let me know if you're enjoying the tone of this season so far. Who are your favorite characters? What dynamics you dig in? Let's have a conversation in the chat below, comments below. And if you read the comic, I'd love to know your thoughts on comparisons. I know a lot of people haven't, but 20 years later since the comic is a crazy thing. So let me know in the comments, and if you're new to this page, hit that subscription bell. I cover all sorts of comic stuff, cover movies, I cover TV. I'm covering this weekly, every week as it drops, as well as Daredevil, as well as big ol' movies as they release. So appreciate y'all. I'll see you for episode 3 next week, and Daredevil even sooner. Bye.